but I do decide to check my hand on this occasion.
It's fine. You doesn't like read into it much. You just mix here. Sure, it's fine.
The turn is an 8 of clubs, bringing a flush.
Probably prefer bet. I don't know. 9 of diamonds probably doesn't matter. Probably just mix here.
Draw, pairing the top card, and our villain gets out the 1.3 pot on the turn. To be honest with you, the spot is not super thrilling already, but I do think that given the nature of the re-ISO pre-flop, I don't see...
I mean, the thing is, like, opponent like runs a 9-8 here, but like, pure is played pretty much. So, like, double blocking 9-8 just has to be so goated. Like, I don't see you can fold. No club is obviously good. You just have to call.
How I can fold my hand. Not to mention that this player is relatively...
Okay, on the river here, I mean... The question is, what do you call, right? It's the obviously question. I mean, the equalizer, the ace is such a good equalizer, right? Like, you're going to have ace 4, ace 5 pretty often. You're going to have ace x to call. You're going to have a lot of flush draws played. You're going to have some ace x, 8x's played. If he's checking 9s, checking 8s. And then you got to ask yourself what you're folding. So.
Active, so yeah, I do decide to call always. We see what seems to be a very bad river in the ace of clubs. And villain tanks for...
River is not so bad because... It's good for range. Objectively, it's goated for range. So, like, it's just bad for hand, right?
Quite a long time before blocking the river. Now, you can see where...
Now, block here is weird. I'm doing my analysis. But block here is weird. The question is, you don't call this sometimes. What are you calling? Like, I think the issue is, like, genuinely, I think, like, if an opponent was to bluff the spot, like, he could easily bluff it with, like, 10-9 with these exact hands. So I don't think you really block much. I don't think opponent plays 9s like this, so like I don't think it makes it any better than like 7s or 6s. Like opponent could have like, I don't know. I feel like opponent could also run ace x as played. It's not the worst line in the world. I just like the question is opponent over bluffing or not, right? You have to call a good amount. Like what do you have to call? The river's objectively good for you, so there's no reason not to hit MDF here. But because I don't think there's that much range asymmetry going on. So the thing is, like, you always have a made hand here. Like 5-4 gets there, like if you have it. Ace 4 you hit a pair. Ace 5 you hit a pair. You obviously don't hit that much ace x, which your opponent recognizes because you mostly call ace 6 clubs. You probably call ace queen on the turn as a mix, though. You're definitely supposed to call it. If you have ace king, you're definitely supposed to call that, obviously, but you have ace 4, ace 5, ace queen. You should call ace queen pure here, I'm pretty sure, on turn. So, you do hit. You have flush draws, obviously you don't fold any clubs as played. You probably have 8x as played, because you're checking 9, so you definitely check 8x. I mean, like, obviously, the issue is, like, you probably do need to call stands like this sometimes. Double blocking 9, it's relevant, right? But at the same time, like, it might just, like, the blockers might be fake, because your opponent's more likely to bluff blocking 9-8. Because it is both players most likely check not 8x, to be honest. Like, obviously, in my opinion, I would just fold here, but I could see how, like, on ACR, I could see how people overbluff here. Like, block does seem appealing on river. Like, it's really easy to get overfolds. You do have to fold pairs at a frequency, right? So the question is, would you rather fold this or something? Like, I don't see how you don't... Like, every non-pair hand you call on turn just got there. So, like... Yeah. And the question is, what are your opponent bluffing, right? Like, king, queen. If he has a club, he probably jams, like, sometimes. I don't know. It's weird. I don't blame meta for calling here. You have to call sometimes, but... Because it is an okay line by opponents. You might be able to get overfolds, but...
My mouse goes immediately over the fold button to press fold. And then I allow myself, which is obviously very good, to think about the decision in a little bit more depth. So, what do we make of the re-ISO preflop into the turn overbet? I think it's very conceivable that we can assume that people in the small blind in this node are going to find flop checks with hands like pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, maybe pocket jacks, with the intention of...
I disagree. I think they could have 10s or 9s. I think they could have everything. That's just my read. I think you could have 10s. I don't see why you couldn't.
And also, I think it's pretty conceivable that those hands can also overbet the turn. So I'm not ruling that out whatsoever. What I am curious about in my tank is on the ace of clubs, what happens to those combos and how does villain react when I'm talking about the value region? I think it's is when we get re-ISO'd after I
feel like Bennett doesn't realize he has ace X played here. He definitely does.
ISO'd a recreational, we can probably attribute more offsuit combos to the small blind's range. I'm talking hands like king queen offsuit, queen jack suited, king queen suited, etc. Now you might say that only the club.
The reason why I like calling here is I think MDA wise, which this guy is, this turn is extremely overfolded. So I could see him just having too many bluffs. That's basically the only reason why it's a good call. Theoretically, I think the call is okay.
Bet the turn, and potentially that is true, but I think like a hand like king queen of hearts here makes a relatively good bluff on the turn regardless. The last thing to mention is I don't really see ace X choosing to bet the turn for this very big sizing. A hand like ace king or ace queen doesn't make a huge amount of sense. A hand like ace 5 probably does.
Yeah, it's kind of a good point. It's like the river is so bad that like you probably should run a lot of bluffs here. Like obviously, yeah, you could have aces, but you probably should in theory run a lot of bluffs here. So yeah, honestly, you could debate jamming your hand as well.
Bet the flop. I think that's just a bit more intuitive. So if they lack the ace X region and also don't really get to value bet the middle pocket pair region, I was just pretty suspicious of this spot. We also do unblock bluffs here. I know that's a very, very kind of like cop-out thing to say, but we don't block any value. But given that they can't bluff with a 9, and they definitely can bluff with a hand like king jack or king queen.
Why can't they bluff with a 9? Why can't they play 10-9 like this? Like, especially like diamonds, right? Like 10-9 of diamonds for sure could play like this, no? Am I just trolling? Like, I don't know. I feel like 10-9 of diamonds could for sure play like this.
I think this makes a better call than a hand like pocket jacks, for example. I think I would obviously rather...
Bennett plus Uri video is golden.
10s with a club, and I'm not going to make an argument that I don't think that that's a better hand, because it definitely is. But I can't just only call those hands and nothing else. With that in mind...
The issue is, like, I actually just don't see the folding range here. That's the issue with that spots like this, I find. But if you just want to go with the logic that it's overbluffed, which like, I honestly could see it, because like, I think MBA-wise, like, I think I would have overbluffed this spot, for example. Just because you're repping such a small amount of hands, and it's like, you could, in theory, just play every bluff like this. So in theory, you could be massively overbluffing for the size. Then I like the call. But I think, like, the idea is, like, when you get this river, you really have to actually ask yourself, like, okay, so I call clubs on turn. I call pocket pairs on turn. And I call like 5-4 and I call like ace X on turn, like ace queen and ace 5, ace 4. Like at this point, like it's not like a massive spot for folding 9s here.